Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Team Eagle's Monday Night Zoom. As most of you know, we are Mick and Jenny Daly, National Marketing Directors in your support line, living in these wonderful mountains of Colorado. And tonight we are very honored to have a very special guest on the call, Kathrine Lee, who will not be a stranger to many of you, I know. Now, Kathrine has been a dear friend of ours for a long, long time, and we've certainly come to love and respect her over the years. I think of all the stories that we hear in Juice Plus, Kathrine's is probably the best. And tonight we are very privileged to have her share her story with us. She is a member of the prestigious 100 Club. She is also the founder of Pure Hope Foundation. So, Kathrine, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know you've just had knee surgery, so that really is an amazing commitment on your part. So thank you from the heart, and over to you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I have to say, I said yes because the chance to share my story, that's easy, right? I'm just telling my story, but it's you and Mick. I'm never going to say no to the two of you and to your incredible team. So, hey to you guys, those that I know, I'm saying hi, pretend like you see me waving in that picture. I told them you much would prefer looking at a still shot of me than me just a few days post-operative, but I do have enough energy to share my story with you. And so I just want to spend that time this evening sharing that, but hopefully within my story, there'll be woven lessons that you can apply in your own life, your own journey, or you may think of someone else and say, wow, they need to hear this story as well. So my hope is that maybe we'll touch all of that. But it's amazing to me. I'm 48 years old, and I have been with this company exactly half of my life. So this next year, when I have my birthday, I will have been with the company more years than I've been without it in my life because I was so young when I joined. So if you're a millennial or know a millennial, I highly recommend, now that I'm in my late 40s, to start something then. And yet, now that I'm 2 years shy of 50, I'm like, wow, it's never too late. That is the best thing about our business, is it really is for everyone. So when I look back 24 years ago, I had one of those days that changes your life forever. I don't know how many of you listening tonight have ever had one of those days where you're just kind of going along and then something happens and everything changes. Like, for instance, the day I dislocated my knee, and then I hobbled around into physical therapy for months, and then they finally said surgery. Well, that day I wasn't expecting to dislocate my knee and kind of literally throw off the balance in my life for a while. But 24 years ago, when I had that day that changed my life forever, it was the day that I heard the words, Kelly and the baby died last night. And what I was being told is that my 31-year-old friend, who was 9 months pregnant, had an aortic aneurysm. And so we lost her and her baby. And wow, when you're in your 20s, you do not think about how short life is. You never expect to lose a friend, much less a young newborn baby like that. And so we really, it really woke me up, I have to say. And it got me literally on my knees. I always tell people, I know that faith is a very personal thing, and it's a spectrum that we all are on in our own journeys. But wherever you are on the spectrum, I would meet you where you are, as I hope you would do with me, because I've probably been almost anywhere on that faith continuum that you've been. But I have to say, the day that she died and I went to her funeral, I got home from the funeral, I got down on my knees and cried out to a God I didn't even believe in. To be honest with you, I had very negative feelings about religion. Still don't love religion, but I love a relationship with God. And that's what started at that moment. And I share that with you because as I got up at that moment, what I'm doing now today was birthed, in a sense, in that moment. I heard the words pure hope. And that was very personal to me because that's what my name, Kathrine, means pure, and Nadine means hope. And so I felt at that moment very seen, and I don't know how to explain that I heard it. I just had never thought those words for years, and all of a sudden they resonated in my heart. And so I knew there was something very sacred about those words, pure hope. But I also felt that there was a very personal God. And I remember challenging God, saying, if you are God and you are real, please please prove it to me, like be obvious. And I made the agreement that I would live expectantly. So if you're a note taker and you like to take notes from somebody's story, I would say that's the first lesson, is to live expectantly. Maybe surrender, which is what happened to me after Kelly died, but then to begin to live expectantly. And I really did. I always say God's been a show off ever since, as I look out at the Texas sunset right now, and then for years looked out over the Pacific Ocean. Man, that is a personal God that's showing off every day. And so I began to see the world through different eyes. And it also woke up my heart. In that moment, when Kelly died, part of my heart died with her. If you've ever had a friend or somebody you loved dearly die suddenly, there's just part of you that will never be the same. But what I know about God and pain now is that pain can be used for purpose. And I began to seek out what that could possibly be. And part of my heart started to wake up to desire, to say, wait a minute, life is short. What do I really want? And again, I hope if you leave with nothing else tonight, you'll surrender, you'll live expectantly, and you'll start to ask yourself that question: what is it that I really want out of life? Because life is very short. Whether you live 100 years or life is cut short at 31 like Kelly, it's still short. And we have this amazing chance to live this incredible life. And so I woke up to that day, and I started asking myself the question, what is it that I really want? And what I knew is that I wanted to be home with my kids. I had a newborn and a 2-year-old at the time. And I wanted something of my own. I was never, I hope nobody judges me, no judging here, but I was never that woman that, I didn't dream about having a wedding. I didn't dream about and I never played with baby dolls. That was never my thing. I always, as a little girl, I used to play in my room, and I would stand in front of the room and I would put out my stuffed animals in front of me. They were like an audience, and my mom would say, "Oh, are you a teacher?" And I would say no, and she said, "What are you?" And I said, "I don't know," but I just knew I wanted to say something to people. And I didn't know what that, really looked like, sounded like, feel like, but when I asked myself that question, what is it that I want? I started thinking, I want to be home with my kids. That's the first and most noble thing that I want to do, because life is short and I want as much time with them and quality time as possible. But I also wanted something of my own. I wanted to find out what pure hope really meant, because it wasn't just about my name. I felt it was a calling on my life. And I wanted to understand what that meant. Well, I started looking for careers that you could do from home. Now, nowadays, there's a whole lot of them. But this is 24 years ago, I didn't even consider a quote-unquote home-based business. The only one I was aware of was Amway, because some friends of mine had invited me to a barbecue, and it turned into a business presentation. And I honor Amway for the incredible impact that they've made for our business models, at least part of what our business model is. But at the same time, I didn't like that. That was not what was a positive interaction for me. And so I never even considered a home-based business in that regard. I was looking for, can I do some mail order? What can I do from home and be home with my kids, have something of my own? I had to generate $500 a month in order to be home with my kids, because once you pay childcare, and for some of you, that's the overhead of your business. Some of you, it's the money you spend on gas and business clothes. We all have overhead of some sort that we pay for in order, quote unquote, to work. And so my overhead was getting my kids to daycare and paying for daycare. And once I put the daycare money back in my own pocket, I realized I only needed to make about $500 a month. And I always joke around that my big giant dream with this business, when it came into my life and they asked me what I wanted this business to do for me and my family, I thought $500 a month. I was 24 years old, living in Southern California. I knew how to be broke. And that's what $500 meant. I was still broke. But to me, I was home with my kids, and that made me rich. And it really was still living paycheck to paycheck for me. But the quality of life meant everything to me, and living by my own choice and managing, so to speak, my own time. I always say there's no such thing as time management, because tick tock, time just ticks on, but we do have choice management. And this gave me the ability to choose the way I invested the hours of my day. And so as I began this process of what is it that I want, and I started looking at what did I truly want, not what the world says you want, not what, the Joneses next door. Remember, I lived in Southern California at the time, probably one of the most competitive, superficial places. Although I love the people, there is a culture there that does that. And I started thinking, do I want those things? And then I thought, I do want to be in control of my time. And I also wanted my health journey, because Kelly was the most fit, most amazing human being you've ever met. I remember we were roommates before she got married, and she would come home from working out and sit down and eat a whole big bowl of Brussels sprouts. And I remember I was the kid that gagged over eating one pea, and I would be like, I almost will kick you out from being my roommate for that smell. And I mean, I really was that person that did not eat any fruits and vegetables. But for some reason, when Kelly died, I wanted to model, and eat like she did. It didn't prolong her life. She had a date and a time, but she had quality of life until her time came. I mean, she just was amazing. And so I started sharing with people that I knew and loved. And this is another key point, is when you figure out your dreams, what you want, if you dare to dream and you dare to hope, when we talk about that word, pure hope, nobody ever talks about the fact that hope hurts a little bit, because when we hope, something hasn't come to fruition yet. And it hurts to hope sometimes, but if we keep hoping and we keep having faith that what we're hoping for will come to fruition, that's what gives us the energy to do the action steps that need be to make the two things come together into reality. And that's what I began to do. I started telling people about this dream that I had to be home with my kids, and did they know anybody or any way I could be home? And I was looking for a way to get healthy. And my sister-in-law, who Mick and Jenny know, and she loves Mick and Jenny as I do, Kelly Newland, called me one day and she said, I just got a Christmas letter in the mail from a woman named Wendy Campbell, and she has started this franchise with fruits and vegetables in a capsule, and she's working from home. I think this could be what you could do. And so I called Wendy Campbell, who was newer in the business at the time, was trying to figure out her own way. And I said, are you guys hiring? I mean, I really did not understand the concept of buying this franchise. And she said, well, you just have to pay $50. And I'm like, well, who do I interview with? She's like, you just pay, $50 for your kid. And back then you had to buy inventory. But to sign that franchise, I just couldn't believe that I didn't have to be hired. I didn't have to prove myself. I could just take a proven model and get to work. And so just know that all of these things are happening, and that $500 a month, because I followed a system that works with a product that was a great concept. It wasn't even proven at the time. It was a great concept, but we didn't have the research. But it made total and complete sense to me. Fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Like, I'm old enough. I don't know how many of you on the phone are old enough to remember the Jetsons, right? They said one day there would be food in pills, and I was like, here we are, space age food. And it made complete sense. But so did the business. And then people started, because we kept the message so simple of, are you eating well enough? No, here it is. Fruits and vegetables in a capsule, right? And then we came out with the gummy. And I just continued to share that story. You guys knows, one of the things I hear a lot now is go for no. I didn't have any wisdom enough in myself. I mean, honestly, I've heard that Mick and Jenny do this incredible training about, how you grow up in this business and the way that you progress. And really, I was completely ignorant. If people told me no, I just assumed they ate enough fruits and vegetables, and I just went on to the next person. I wanted to tell everybody about this product, and I wanted to be home with my kids so bad that the no's did not deter me. I didn't feel like I had to convince anybody. I just figured I had to find all the people that were looking for something like I was. And as I did that, people started saying, well, I want to do the business too. I want to buy a franchise. And so then my income started to double, not just $500, but $1,000. And then that $1,000 turned to $2,000. And I won't belabor all of the pieces to that. But what I want to tell you is the system worked. I literally would go to Wendy and say, tell me what to do next. How many customers do I need? What system do I use to do it? All right. And then I would go to work. And it's really important for those of you that have other interests, or your time, the choices of the way that you invest your time are forced into another area, either by choice or a necessity. You need to know, I only work this business about 6 hours a week. I would work an hour every day, and then 2 hours on Fridays. So an hour Monday through Thursday, 2 hours on Fridays, because I had a newborn and a 2-year-old. So every Sunday night, once a month I would get with Wendy, we would lay out a plan. And then every Sunday evening, I would break that plan down into weekly activity. And that weekly activity was done 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, one phone call, one follow-up, are you ready to get started? My favorite line ever still is in my business is there anything else you need from me before you're ready to get started on Juice Plus? I learned to say that over and over. I would get information, set a time to follow up. I would follow up. And then if they were hem-hawing around, I would say, is there anything else you need from me before you're ready to get started? And it was like magic. People would either say, no, I guess not, let's go. Or they would tell me what they needed. And then I would get them what they needed to make a decision. And so that was really key to me. For me, I have a high school education. I did not feel like I had anything brilliant, but I did have a passion to care and connect with people, to find out if what I had to offer would meet a need or a desire in their life. Now, keep in mind, this whole time, I'm still following that God that I said I would follow if he made himself obvious, and he made himself obvious, so I kept following him. I like to say he kept interrupting my life, to be honest with you. And Mick had asked me to share a little bit about being on the Oprah show, because I've had the privilege of being on her show a few times. And we'll have to do this again, Mick and Jenny, when I'm in my office, and I can show you guys all the pictures of me with her on stage. But I literally was down at the beach, again, kind of on my knees type of posture, but sitting at my car at the beach. And I had this kind of vision that I don't know how else to describe it, but if you've ever think of a memory, how vivid a memory is, this was like thinking of a memory, but yet it hadn't happened yet. And I remember thinking, okay, God, if that's you, you've got to prove that to me, because anybody that knows me knows I do not want to be famous. I want to have influence. I would much rather lift up 1,000 people's voices and have them be on stage than me be on stage. But if I needed to be on stage, on the Oprah stage, in order to have that influence to lift up other people's voices, I thought, okay, I'm willing, but God, you've got to make it obvious. So again, God loves to interrupt my life. And here I was 7 years later on that same beach, and I just felt in that time that it was time to submit my story, 7 years after that vision. So again, I want to say, if you've ever had a vision or a desire for your life and it hasn't come to fruition, don't quit believing, don't quit envisioning it, and don't quit trying. Now, for me, I just took a pause for prayer and asked God, I felt like God was putting that on my heart, and when he thought it was time, because I always say God's timing is as perfect as his will. And I said, okay, God, if that's you, if that's your will, then show me the time. And 7 years later, I felt it's time to submit your story. And I ended up, within just a very short period of time, maybe a week, they called me. I was on the show not once, but twice. It was actually, 3 times total. But the second time was actually the time that the vision came to fruition. I mean, exactly what had played through my head all those years earlier on the beach. There, she and I were sitting on stage, just talking with each other like friends. And so again, it was the second time that have you ever had a false start? Maybe some of you started your franchises and you didn't make it to where you wanted to go the first time, and now maybe is your time. Or maybe you've started and you just played around with this and you never even had a vision for being at the top of this company. But now maybe you're starting to have that, wake up in you. But I just want to encourage you that, the timing and the desire, there is a time for it to come together. And there's certain work to be done. in order to do that. So I was working consistently on my Juice Plus business. I was getting all sorts of platforms to speak in just really cool ways. I wasn't asking. People would just be in an audience and at a Juice Plus event. And then they would say, hey, I'm the HR director for Disney. Can you come speak at our company? Or I'm the, HR director or occupational health nurse at UPS or DirecTV. And there was just some favor. I don't know how else to describe it that was happening in my life, but it all started in that daily posture of, prayer. Okay, God, interrupt my plans, my thoughts. I'm going to plan my way, but I want you to direct my steps because yours is going to be better than what I could turn out. So with all that being said, I want to try to there's so many really cool pieces of the story and what the Juice Plus company has opened up for me in way of opportunity, because meanwhile that all this is happening, because our system is so great, business is growing. More people are joining. Our systems are getting better. The research is getting better. My paycheck is growing. And the whole time, my husband, I thought we would have time to share my husband and I's story, because Mick and Jenny love Michael and I's love story as I love theirs. And we were going to try to fit that in tonight. But that doesn't affect your business as much as it maybe would affect your belief in miracles and hope and forgiveness. So, we'll talk about I have a book that you can get if you're interested in that. But what I want to tell you, what's I think is really important, is during this whole season, my husband and I kept saying, okay, God, like with our hands open, you did this. I mean, our business was blessed. This company has been blessed, as you all know. What do you want us to do with this? Well, remember all those years before, pure hope was whispered in my heart. And what's so interesting is when I first found Juice Plus, it felt like pure hope. The product is so pure. And I used to live right by the plant where they encapsulate it by NAI. And I used to take people on tours virtually every month. And I would be reminded how pure it is. And I watched how this product and this company over and over and over gave people hope. And again, all those platforms that I was given and curriculums I've written and different things that I've done, nothing though, although it was all in that vein of being pure. I wanted pure motives. We have a pure product. We give hope in our product and our business. Any personal development work I do is all based on that, but nothing could carry that name, pure hope, until one day, and it's a very long story, but I had been saying to God over and over, okay, God, my husband and I, you did this. What do you want us to do with it? What do you want us to do with these blessings? And one day I was on an airplane, and there were actually two incidents on an airplane. One was I was sitting next to a gentleman who kept interrupting me to talk. And people don't believe this, but I'm actually an introvert. And I didn't want to talk. I'll have to be honest with you. And so I kept going, I don't want to talk to this guy. He kept tapping me on the shoulder. Well, long story short is I finally heard that still small voice say, talk to him. And I did, and about an hour into the flight, I thought for sure God had me talk to him, because I was going to set him up with one of my friends. I was thinking of all my single girlfriends, because this guy was smart and charismatic and just well-traveled and wealthy, I could tell. And the wealthy, it meant he had options in life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Well, he told me later, he tapped me on the shoulder and wanted to talk to me because he had seen I had a Bible in my lap. And he he told me later, I set you up so that you would ask me one question. I talked to you that hour so that you would ask me one question. And I did. I bit, and I said, what is it that you do? And he said, I own the second largest pornography company in the world. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be setting him up with one of my friends. And I was like, okay, God, why would you have me talk to this man? And I think there's two lessons in that story, honestly. One is we're just never quite quiet enough to listen for that still small voice. But on that airplane, I was trying to contain my life in quietness. And that's why I heard the voice talk to him. But the second thing is we're always scared we won't know what to say if we're put in a particular position. And I remember that all throughout my Juice Plus career. Well, what if a doctor asked me this? What if somebody asked me that? What if I don't know this? We never want to feel like we don't know. But you know what? The second best line I ever learned in this company was, I don't know, I'll find out for you. I don't have to know everything. And what I know is that God will put the words on our mouth if we're supposed to be in a situation. And that guy told me later he thought it would be entertaining to watch the Bible lady like him and then squirm the rest of the flight after I told him after he told me what he did, or to sit and judge him the rest of the flight. He thought that would be entertaining. But in his words, he said, but instead you met me with love and grace and curiosity, and I didn't know what to do with you. And it's an incredible, incredible story. But I have to tell you, when we were done, he asked me if he could get my business card, because he felt like that the young women that he was recruiting to do this whole issue of pornography, that someday they may need me. And right then I knew what Pure Hope was for. And it didn't have to do with pornography. It had to do with the fact that I had challenged this man about his hero's heart. And, that these were somebody's daughter, and maybe he wanted to take that into consideration. After talking for a long time, we really had an incredible conversation. And I just challenged him to see if his hero's heart would wake up on their behalf. And what ended up happening is, as I got home and I told my husband the story and I began to research the impact of pornography, I found out about this issue of trafficking in our country, that it's the #2 criminal industry in our country, and it's the fastest growing criminal industry in our country. Not globally, it's bad globally, but in the United States, with American girls, with American men, trafficking is the #2 criminal industry, and the fastest growing. And my husband and I are like, what are we supposed to do with this? And this is how it ties into the Oprah vision that happened. The only 2 times it's ever happened where I had a quote unquote vision. The first time was I'd be on Oprah and God had brought that to fruition. Well, then God gave me a vision of a ranch, a place of abundant beauty where young women could come and be restored. And here we are in Texas. God has brought that vision to fruition, at least part of it. Just like Oprah, there's phase 1 has happened. We're waiting on phase 2 to fully come to fruition. But I share that in closing with you to say, you never know what your Juice Plus business, who it's going to impact. My kids have been able to travel all over the world. I've been able to help my family buy homes. I've been able to give to charities that I did not start, and I've been able to start my own nonprofit because of fruits and vegetables in a capsule. So honestly, surrender. Think about, what do you really want? Live expectantly and open your eyes to see, because the abundance that's waiting for you through this company, you really never know who it's going to have the greatest impact on. We have young women that are graduating now from high school, another one that's starting college right now that honestly, they had no hope. And now here we are, because of Pure Hope Foundation and because of the Pure Hope that Juice Plus and the Juice Plus company gave me, I can now pass that hope on to them. So Mick and Jenny, thank you so much for having me on the call tonight. I just am always in awe as I get to tell the story of how much history there is, especially when I do it with people like you that were pillars for me when I first started, and spoke life into my life so that I could now be speaking it into others.
Wow. Mick?
Kathrine, I know you have another call, and I know you need to leave us. So on behalf of everyone live tonight and everyone who will watch this recording, thank you so much. God bless you. Love to Michael and the kids, and we look forward to seeing you another time soon.
Great. Thank you so much. It was my honor to be on with your amazing team.
So bye-bye, Kathrine. And as Kathrine leaves us, I want to do another screen share and show you a couple of things that you will absolutely not want to miss out on. So some resources, if I can get my screen to behave. I think I'm in the wrong. Okay, hold on. Bear with me, folks. I'm doing my best here. Okay. So first, Kathrine didn't tell us much about Pure Hope Foundation, but it is the most remarkable organization. And I did put a link in the Facebook announcement about this Zoom and also in the email that I sent everyone. So you can follow the link to learn more about Pure Hope Foundation. And I will tell you that a large number of Juice Plus leadership are involved in this organization in one shape or form, as sponsors, as donors, on the board of directors. Kurt Beavers, our sponsor, is on the board of directors. In addition, this goes back quite a few years. When Kathrine mentioned that she had become a much sought after speaker, public speaker, she created this program, this website called The Ultimate Source. You can find it by going to kathrinelee.com, and it's an amazing program to help people to discover their life purpose. Really, that's pretty much what it's all about. And then lastly, Kathrine was right in saying that we wish she'd had time to share with us the love story, the story of how she and Michael Lee, when they were teenagers living in Texas, were greatly in love, but it didn't work out. Kathrine left, went off to California, married someone else, and then through, she used the word miracle, nothing short of a miracle, they came back together again much later, probably, I'm guessing 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, 9, 10 years ago. The essence of the story is that they both decided to go and look for each other at the same time. And while Michael was off in California looking for Kathrine, Kathrine was back in Texas looking for Michael. It's a true story. So this book, I know some of you have bought it and have read it. It comes highly recommended. It is a memoir of Kathrine's life up to this point. I hope she'll write a second memoir in about 20 years, because the second one will be even better than the first. But this is the story of Kathrine's life to this point, and it is beyond inspirational. I absolutely promise you. Okay, I'm going to stop the